Good morning all. If you'd just like to come in a little bit closer so that you can actually have a bit of a good look and possibly hear the microphone or the speaker a little bit better. I'm Richard I work in the Toowoomba Support Office. I've worked with the Integrated Solutions Group for a while, but I do technical support mainly for our group. I do a lot of new machine startups for customers, so obviously in the Toowoomba district mainly because that's where I'm based, but what we're going to do here just now is we're going to talk about our range of sprayers, and particularly this one because that's what we've got available to us. So this is one of 5 different models that we have available, being the R4030. So the numbering system has changed with the release of these models from what we've been used to. So it's a 40 series machine, and the 30 on the end of the decal number is the capacity of the fluid tank basically. So looking at a 4030, we're talking about a 3,000 litre tank. So if you see a machine that's a 4038, we're talking about a 3,800 litre tank. And then we have a smaller machine coming out that's replacing the 4630. It's now going to be called an R4023 because it's a 2,300 litre tank. And we have a bigger machine, the R4045, 4,500 litre tank. And we have another machine that it's an European design machine. The old designation was a 5430i. It's now going to be called a R4040. So with this particular machine, this size machine, it's got a 6.8 litre engine in it, 280 horsepower or thereabouts, with about a 15% power bulge. The next size up from this has got a 9 litre engine in it. It's about 310 horsepower. Mainly, obviously, you're carting more weight around. Currently we're getting them in the Tier 2 engine configuration for you guys that know about the emission controls that are coming in on diesel engines. We currently still get these in the Tier 2 configuration. The changes from the last series of machines to these series, we've redesigned the chassis, or Deere has redesigned the chassis. It's a modular design now, mainly to accommodate the new cab, which is a Command 2 cab, which is similar to the early Series 8R tractors. So very similar inside and in the size of the cab. So it's got a similar layout on the armrest with what you see in your tractors now. So basically we've changed. Another big thing that's changed on these is the suspension. We used to have the link suspension system that you see in the 47s and 4830s. We had a little bit of an issue with, after a period of time, that suspension would wear, which was giving us inaccuracies with auto tracking. So with the bigger design machines that we had this dual strut suspension in them in the first place. So they've carried that design over now onto these machines. So hopefully that's going to take a fair bit of that inaccuracy with regard to auto track and the steerability of these out of it'll be a thing of the past. So. The suspension has 8 inches of travel now on these, so with the automatic ride height systems, they sit in the middle of that travel. So you do get a fair range of movement in the suspension, so as the load's coming off the machine or you're travelling over rough ground, the ride quality is quite good. The drive mechanism is similar to what we've had in the past, so we're driving 2 hydro units underneath it. So we've got the front hydro unit is driving the left front wheel, right rear wheel. The rear hydro unit obviously is driving the other 2 wheels, right front, left rear. The way we do, we actually combine the drive of both of those in normal application, so the output of both those hydros is driving all 4 wheels. It's only when you get into a situation where you might be into a bit of muddy conditions and you've got, say, one wheel starting to spin, you tend to lose a fair bit of effort out of that wheel. So what we've done with this new machine is we now have a wheel slip control mechanism. So previous to now, we used to have a traction control system. Now we have a wheel slip system. So each wheel has a wheel speed sensor on it. So the system is looking at the speed of the wheels. If it sees one that's starting to rotate at a different speed to the rest, the system can automatically reduce we have a variable swash plate angled motors on these. So the system will reduce the swash plate angle of that particular motor, slow that wheel down, so we tend to get even drive across all the wheels. So that's something that's come new in these machines, in this model. 138 litre hydraulic capacity main hydraulic pump that looks after our functions for our boom, raise, lower, folding, and also our solution control. So it's a closed centre pump like we run on our tractors, very similar to that, works very similar. So that's been we've had something similar to that in the past, it's just increased in capacity. We run on this size machine, you can either option it with a poly tank like this one's got, or a stainless steel tank. If you look at the next size up in the big machine, they only come with stainless steel tanks. So there is obviously a fair saving in dollars between the two, depending on what you're looking at doing. So one of the big changes that we've had come through on these machines is the boom. We've gone away from the suspension system on the older machines to swing link suspension, it's called. So instead of the whole boom pivoting on a pin in the centre of the main centre piece, so when the boom on the old machines was oscillating, it would just one wingtip would go up and the other wingtip would go down. With this system now, it's more like it sort of oscillates, so the whole boom just swings side to side. So you get a lot better travel when you're travelling in the field. You get a lot better dampening of any movement if you're bouncing it over bumps or through even at contours or going on hills. So that's one of the big things that's happened with the boom. But you might notice we have actually changed the mechanisms for breakaways. So we have actually a whole boom breakaway. It'll break away 35 degrees to the rear from the centre here. So if you do hit something away from the tip of the boom, the whole boom can go back 30 degrees. But another big thing that's changed is that on our wingtips we have it's a tri-breakaway system. So the wingtip can break away 80 degrees forward, 80 degrees rear, or 35 degrees up. So it's got a fairly good safety mechanism built into it if you drive it into the ground, or hit a fence post, tree, whatever. So with these booms, with these machines now, we used to, in the older models, if you bought a 4730, you could only get 80-foot boom, or if you bought a 40, whatever, as the machines got bigger, you got bigger booms. With these series machine now, you can option it with the size boom that you want. So there's three sizes, effectively 24 metre, 30 or 36 metre booms. So you can option these machines with whatever you want. So once again, you can get them with a factory plumb system on them, so they can be 20-inch or 50 centimetre plumbing, or we can go for a custom plumb where we can plumb them any way you like, effectively. So depending on which boom you have on there as to how many sections you run, you might have, if you've got the small boom, you'll have 7 sections. Got the large boom, you might have 9, and the biggest boom we've got has got 11 sections. So we can break it up, pretty much how you like. One of the things that has changed is the amount of lubrication points. 70% less lubrication points on these booms as compared to what we had in the past. So that's effectively 40 points less. So basically they've added in self-lubricating joints in the boom so that there's a lot less maintenance that you need to carry out on a day-to-day basis. So solution systems, if you want to come round to the other side of the machine, there's been a repositioning of our rinse water tank. So we have our main water tank being the yellow poly tank on this machine, and then you'll see a black poly tank on the back. That's our rinse water tank. It previously used to be over the other side. Now the fuel tank's over there. So what we have on this side, we just have a little tank that's 45 litres up the front here. That is, it's like a hand washing station and an eye rinsing station, just in case you get something splashed in your eyes. So we have two different styles of controls for our solution system. So this is the manual command. So this one's got the manual load command system on it. We can have an automatic load command system. So effectively this is what we had in the older models, but the layout of the hand, all these taps has changed. But effectively we still have control over what our solution system does with regard to pulling water into the tank, whether we're using water out of our main chemical tank or our rinse water tank, and whether we're spraying it to our nozzles, putting it through our agitators, or putting it through our adductor. Now with the auto load command system, we actually, underneath this little panel here, there's actually, even on this machine, we have some functions that we can automatically turn on and off. We can start the pump, run the pump from down here. We can turn the nozzles on from down here so we can check them. There is a couple of different things you can do with that. We can turn lights on and off from down here. So with the auto load command system, we have extra buttons in there, but we also have extra sensors in the tank. So you can program that you want to put an X amount of water into a tank. So if you said you wanted to put 2,500 litres into the tank, you hit the button, it'll start filling, and when we get to 2,500 litres, it'll stop filling. It'll automatically close some taps. It has some other features, but so there is we actually have a front fill system as well that comes into play with that, where you can have a fill point out on the nose of the nose of the sprayer out the other side. So it's for ease of access, because sometimes it's a bit hard to pull up to a machine for your fill point and fill the machine through these fill connectors here. It might be easy to nose up with, you can leave the boom still unfolded. So you can see on this side we now have a 3-inch fill for the main tank and a 2-inch fill for the rinse water, so you can't mess it up. There is a check valve in the system that prevents rinse water tank from mixing with the chemical. So in theory you shouldn't have a problem with that. So the main solution system on these, we can get like a high flow rate or a standard flow rate. The standard flow rate pumps at around about 630 litres a minute. So with a machine travelling at say 30 kilometres an hour, you can spray at about 130 to 140 litres a hectare with this standard solution system. You can put the high flow system on, it increases the system up to a bit over 800 litres a minute. So obviously if you're trying to spray very large spray rates, you might need to go with that system. So that adds a second flow meter. So this is all our flow meter system up here. If you go for the high flow rate system, you'll end up with 2 lines running along here with a second flow meter. So other things that have changed, hydraulic capacity on these now. The hydraulic tank is still up in behind the cab like we've had before. The tank is about 95 litres, but the whole system capacity is more like 160 litres. Because we have so much oil trapped in all the hoses and motors and bits and pieces, we can only service about 2/3 of it through the tank. So when we're changing oils in these... Hello? When we're changing oils in these machines, we only get a portion of it out each time. So the oil change intervals on these is shorter than what we have on our tractors. Typically on our tractors and other machinery, it's a 1,500 hour service interval. On these, it's 500 hours because we're not changing all the oil in one go. So things that have changed, there's a model year 16 coming out shortly. It's so orderable if you start ordering it shortly. There's a couple of little things have changed. They've done some reconfiguring of mounting points and bits and pieces around the machine to try and take some weight out. And on average, they've taken about 600 kilograms of weight out of each machine. Because there is some talk about them being very heavy, and they are reasonably heavy machines. So you can option them obviously with flotation tyres and bits and pieces depending on your operation. So the weight reduction is one thing that they've changed. There's some options with the cab, with lighting. There's the new HID style lighting we can get on these machines. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go from a little cheat sheet here because I just can't remember all of the bits and pieces that they've changed for the 16 machine. The 600, there's about, for this particular size machine, instead of running the 90 odd litres of hydraulic oil, they're going to put 76 litres in the tank, so it's a slight weight saving and you don't need the capacity. They're redesigning the fence row nozzles, so you can option the booms with the fence row nozzles on these. So they're redesigning them for the model year 16 machines. And not that it's going to affect this area here. If you're operating in very cold weather, they've got some shielding that runs on the front of around the engine to try and keep the engine warm in the really cold conditions. So I just checked that I haven't sort of missed too much here on my little cheat sheet that I was going to talk about. We have increased ground speeds, so both in transport and spraying. So typically with this machine here, on this size machine, you can spray up to 32 kilometres an hour. And with a 4038, the next size up, you can spray at 40 kilometres an hour. So obviously that's fairly quick. So you'd want fairly good open country with not too many lumps and bumps in it. We also have an anti-stall system built into the ground drive system of this. So what that does is if you are coming into say very doughy conditions and the machine is starting to lug down, to maintain efficiency through our hydraulic system, which is obviously operating our solution system, we need to keep the engine speed up. So the anti-stall system, what it'll do, it's a bit like operating in a grain harvester if you've got the smart feed rate in it. What it'll do is it'll start slowing the machine down to try and maintain engine speed. So it's been a bit interesting to get used to, because operators of these new machines are saying there's something wrong, it's sort of slowing down, but it's designed to do that to maintain engine speed, to keep our hydraulics efficient. It's got built-in tow control now. Tow control was some valves that we used to put onto the older model machines to help keep the front steering, two steering wheels in tow-in correct. Because there's no drag link between the two front wheels, potentially we're relying on hydraulic pressure in our hydraulic cylinders to keep our front wheels aligned. And there were situations, if you didn't have tow control valves on them, you'd drive into some doughy conditions, or even used to happen if you're driving them up onto a truck, the front wheels would start to tow out, and that was pretty unnerving at times. So as an option, we used to fit tow control valves to all the machines that we knew were going to have auto track on, but these ones now have basically it's built into them. So front brakes on these, there's for our service brake, so we have one brake pedal up in the cab. There's a disc on both front tyres, so to increase our braking capacity, because of our spraying speeds are higher now, to increase our braking capacity, we now have 2 calipers on each brake rotor instead of just the one. Axle spacings, obviously from 3 metres to 4 metres, so 3 metres inboard, 4 metres out. We've changed the design of the sensor that tells us where our wheels are, so it's gone more to what we used to see in our biggest sprayer, the now 4045. With our automatic system, we just plug in what distance we want, hit the button, and the wheels will just travel to that specification. So, I'm just making sure I haven't missed something here. So the folding mechanism on the boom, we have an auto folding system now, so when you go to fold up, it has an auto sequence. So you just hit one fold button and it'll start to fold the wings in and do the whole fold mechanism in one go. You can still go into a manual mode and fold bits and pieces in and out if you wish, but in normal operation, it's just to put it in auto mode, it'll just automatically fold it in and fold it out as you want. This tank on the back is 454 litres of, I'm not sure I said that before, but so you can carry a fair bit of rinse water on board. So some operators use that as an extension to the amount that they can cover in one tank fill. So they can transfer that water into the main tank, add a bit more chemical and spray a few more hectares before they have to come back for a fill. But obviously it's there for boom rinsing and tank rinsing different operations. So we have the ability, even with this manual load command system here, through using these buttons and switching these taps. If you get to the end of a day, you still got chemical in the tank and you don't want to empty that out, but you want to rinse the boom, we can do a boom rinse from our rinse water tank through our boom. Or if you have got to the end of the day and the tank's empty and you want to rinse the tank, you can run water through our rinsing nozzles into the tank. So from our rinse water tank, we can pull clean water into our main tank through the rinsing nozzles. You can drain that out, or you can spray it out through the boom. So we've always had that, but it's a little bit more easier to do it with this system now. Are we running out of time? Okay, I'm nearly there. I think I've nearly got through the list. We now have pressure sensors on the Hypro pump, because we still use a Hypro style solution pump on this. So if we run the pump dry for more than a few seconds, depending on our ground speed, we have an automatic shut-off feature now, so it will shut the pump down if we're out of solution. We have an automatic air bleed system now, so where the main water line runs up to the back of the boom there, on top of it there's a fitting up there, and there's a little T-piece. Oh, we're back again. Little T-piece on top. There is a valve on top of there that opens and lets air bleed out of the line before it actually goes out to the boom. So that's a feature that hopefully... So one of the things that we had issues with was the boom shut-off times, or turn on and shut-off times. And the main problem with it is that we were getting air in the boom. So when you actually turn the system on, yeah, right. When you turn the system on, it'd compress the air, so then when you're turning the sections off, we weren't supplying it any more solution, but the air was then expanding again and was continuing to spray until we get down to the pressure of our anti-drip nozzles. So what's happened with these now is we have that automatic bleed system up on top of the boom, but we also have end aspirators on each of the spray bars, and the aspirators are designed so that they tape from on each end of the spray bar. It's designed to taper up to an end nozzle, so any air that's in the line will actually get forced out of those end aspirators. So in theory, we should have no air in our spray bars. There is an optional boom air purge. So basically we have onboard air on the machine so that we run our airbags. So we have a system where we can actually push air through the spray bars and actually push all the chemical out if you wish to use that. So with the cab, we just saying as how it's now similar to what was on the 8R tractors. It's got 7% more glass, 10% more space, 30% more airflow and capacity, 33% wider door opening. So one of the things we have troubles with on the sprayers was how wide the door opened, and if you're a larger guy, you could struggle to get in and out of them at times, and that's purely because of our handrails and the railing around the cab door. So built into the machines now we have JD Link that we can use, and we're starting to see that in all of our machines. So with JD Link we can utilise Service Advisor Remote, and we might hear a bit more about that. Wireless data transfer, which is becoming more and more talked about, and there'll be some, you can talk about that with our guys. And one of the options that we can put on these is direct injection, where we put some extra tanks across the back for chemical, some pumps that we then distribute that chemical directly into a mixer on the back of the boom. So instead of pre-mixing our chemical into the tank, we can just have straight water in our main tank. We can pre-mix chemicals, and you can have up to 3, depending on what size machine you've got, up to 3 different pumps, and you can be distributing 3 different lots of chemical in it if you wish. So that's a system that's now available on these. We did have it available to us on the older models, but it's more easily retrofitted onto these now. So that's pretty much it on the sprayers. If there's any questions about anything you want to know about. No?
Suspension, does it help the front wheels follow the ground any better than the old scissors? They used to spin the wheels every now and then.
Well, I guess I personally haven't been in one to try on that, but I would assume it's better suspension travel. So you know, there's 8 inches of travel there, and it's a design that we had on the bigger machine. So only time will tell, I guess. One would hope it would. But it's weight distribution. You know, when the machine's folded, the weight distribution is 50-50, but obviously it gets a bit heavier out the rear when the boom's unfolded. So, you know, the reasoning is that it should be 50-50 when you're transporting for stability and all that sort of thing. But obviously with the boom out the back, it does split back to about, and I think it's 43% on the front and 57 or something on the rear, something like that. So.
They just made it longer and shifted it forward, like the wheels are now under the cab.
Yeah, so if you remember seeing the 4940s or 4930s, you know, the nose of those used to be way out the front compared to the rest of the machine. So that's obviously you know, a concept that's moving over. And if you look at the tanks are further forward now. So the design of the tank is sort of shorter, sort of trying to bring that weight further forward on the chassis. So.
Can you get a stainless steel pump for them?
Well, not through the normal ordering process, as far as I know. But you know, certainly it's a hypro pump, so you could probably retrofit it with something. So.